Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm doing a Relinquished deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an extremely nostalgic deck based around one of the coolest ritual monsters ever created, Relinquished. And we even just got the Eye of Illusion card, taking this deck to a whole new level. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Relinquished. This card is a definite 3-of boss monster that has an amazing ability that you can actually target an opponent's monster and equip it to this card. And this card gains attack and defense points equal to that monster's attack and defense points, which is a crazy powerful effect. And funny enough, this card is actually my very first card that I ever owned, and definitely comment down below what your first card was as well. It's so cool to be able to base a deck based around Relinquished because it was my very first Yu-Gi-Oh card. We then play 3 copies of Millennium-Eyes Illusionist. Millennium-Eyes Illusionist is a really cool 3-of in the deck that has the ability that quick effect, you can discard this card and then target an effect monster that your opponent controls and equip that target to an Eyes Restrict monster or a relinquished monster that you control as if it was equipped by that monster's effect, which is an amazing ability just to instantly equip an opponent's monster to your copy of Relinquished. And if an Eyes Restrict fusion monster or Relinquished is special summon, you get to add this card back from your graveyard to your hand so you can use it over and over again, which is an amazing ability, but you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. We then play 2 copies of Golden Eyes Idol. Golden Eyes Idol is a really cool card in this deck because this card can actually become Thousand Eyes Idol by letting you look at your opponent's hand, just like Pegasus's Millennium Eye, which is so cool. We then play 3 copies of Tour Guide from the Underworld. Tour Guide from the Underworld is a really good 3-of in the deck because this card lets you summon out your copy of Sangin directly from the deck, which we do play a single copy of Sangin to go along with our copies of Tour Guide so that we can get 2 monsters on our side of the field so we can start link summoning into some really cool cards. But these are really good in the deck because your copy of Sangin has a really cool effect, and if it's sent from the field to the grave, you get to add a monster with 15 or less attack from your deck to your hand, but you cannot activate cards or effects of cards with the same name for the rest of the turn, meaning you can add basically anything in the top row, which is so cool to be able to do with your copy of Sangin because you can get to it really easy with your copy of Tour Guide. We then play 3 copies of the Multi-Dimensional Kaiju. You always want a safe target for your copy of Relinquished to be able to equip to your monster, which is why you play the Kaijus in the deck, plus it outs really big boss monsters that your opponent might put on the field that you don't want to deal with that might have negates, and this card just makes it safe to be able to basically attach a Kaiju to your copy of Relinquished. This card is really good as a 3-of in the deck, so we also play Allure of Darkness in the deck, and this card is a dark monster. We then play a single copy of the Thunder King Kaiju. This card is just really big, sitting at 3,300. We then also play a single copy of the Star Destroying Kaiju. This card is also sitting at 3,300, making it a really good card that also has a different name. And then we play a single copy of Gamma Seal. Gamma Seal is just in case we want to hand our opponent a small Kaiju, because we have multiple Kaijus in our hand, so we can give our opponent the turtle, and then we can give ourselves one of the big Kaijus on our side of the field, which is just really nice to be able to do, so we can have an awesome boss monster on the field. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion's a really good 1-of in the deck to be able to summon out your copy of Millennium-Eyes Restrict or Thousand Eyes Restrict. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good just to stop your opponent from hand trapping you while you're going in for all of your plays. We then play 2 copies of Black Illusion Ritual. Black Illusion Ritual is a really cool old school ritual that you use to summon out your copy of Relinquished. We then play 3 copies of Relinquished Fusion. Relinquished Fusion is an amazing 3-of in the deck that helps you summon out your copy of Millennium-Eyes Restrict. with the ability that you get to fusion summon an Eyes Restrict fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing materials from your hand, field, or graveyard to be able to summon out that monster, which is an amazing ability to be able to fusion summon out your cards. And also it has the ability that during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard and then target an effect monster that your opponent controls and equip that monster to an Eyes Restrict fusion monster or a Relinquished that you control as if it was equipped by that monster's effect. And you can only use each effect of this card once per turn. We then play 3 copies of Eye of Illusion. This card finally got printed after all this time, and it's really worth the wait. This card is so good because it has the ability, if you control an illusion or a spellcaster monster, you can activate one of these effects, that your illusion and spellcaster monsters cannot be destroyed by battle this turn, that you can also, during your opponent's turn, target a face-up monster that your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase, or you have the ability that when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can target a face-up monster that your opponent controls, except the attacking monster, and change the attack target to that monster performing damage calculation, which is a crazy powerful effect for this card to have, and this card just helps out a lot in the deck, and it's a definite 3-of in the build. Hopefully, eventually we get illusion support for Relinquished, turning Relinquished into an illusion monster, because Relinquish's Eye, or the Millennium-Eye, is everywhere all over the illusion card. So hopefully we eventually get a Relinquish that is a retrain as an illusion monster. We then play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Allure of Darkness is really good as a 3-of in the build, just to help us dig into the deck for the exact cards that we need. We then play 3 copies of Preparation of Right. This is a ritual deck, so we do want to use this card to be able to grab our copy of Relinquished from our deck to our hand. Then you can add your copy of Black Illusion Ritual from your graveyard to your hand, but it is an optional effect to add the ritual spell, but you can basically use this card like Rhoda to grab your copy of Relinquished. We then play 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Right. This card is an amazing 3-of that lets us add a ritual spell from our deck to our hand, then we can add a ritual monster from our deck or graveyard to our hand, whose name is mentioned on the ritual spell, which is great to help us add our copy of our Black Illusion Ritual and Relinquish to our hand. We then play 3 copies of Super Polymerization. Super Polymerization is amazing in this deck because your copy of Millennium-Eyes Restrict just requires Relinquish plus any effect monster to make this card, so you can use your copy of Super Poly with Relinquish to be able to get rid of an opponent's monster while also getting a boss monster on the field, but we also play some really good Super Poly targets in the extra deck. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Millennium-Eyes Restrict. This card is an amazing card that you usually win the game when you put it on your side of the field. It's that powerful. It has the ability once per turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can target an effect monster that your opponent controls or in their graveyard and equip that target this card that you control. And this card gains attack and defense equal to that equipped monster's attack and defense, and monsters with that equipped monster's name cannot attack. Also, their effects are negated on the field and their activated effects are negated as well, which is an insane ability for this card to have, that it basically just locks down an entire monster card's name, which is a really cool effect for this card to have. We then play a single copy of Thousand Eyes Restrict. This card is a really good option to be able to summon off your copy of Instant Fusion, but you can use your copy of Golden Eyes Idol to be able to make this card once you turn it into a copy of Thousand Eyes Idol. And this card is really good to be able to eat your opponent's cards, and it's just an overall fantastic nostalgic boss monster. We then play a single copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. This card is an awesome Super Poly target that we can use 2 dark monsters on the field to be able to make this card. We then play a single copy of Garua. Garua is also a great Super Poly target. And then we play a single copy of Mud Dragon. This card is also a great Super Poly target to be able to make in this deck, because basically when you play these cards on your side of the field, you have options for your copy of Super Poly, which is really, really nice. If there's any other Super Poly targets you guys want to play, you can change out some of the link monsters for it, but I feel like these are the most important. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code is just really good at popping multiple cards on the field, and it comes out absolutely massive. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff. 1 copy of Selene, because you can climb into your copy of Access Code using this card because it revives your spellcasters from the graveyard depending on how many spell cards you have on the field and in the graveyard, which is really cool about this card, to basically make your copy of the Dark Charmer, revive a dark monster in your opponent's graveyard, make Selene, revive a spellcaster from the graveyard, and then make Access Code to be able to pop multiple cards on the field. That's one of the most used lines in the deck that I use, is Dark, Selene, and then Access Code, which is really cool about this build. We then play a single copy of SP Little Knight. You can change this card out for like a Nightmare Phoenix if you don't have it, but it's a really good option if you do because it is a double interruption and it's a crazy powerful card. But again, if you don't have it, change it out for a copy of Nightmare Phoenix or another Super Poly target. We then play a single copy of IP Masquerena. IP is really good to make your copy of SP Little Knight or your copy of Nightmare Unicorn during the opponent's turn. We then play a single copy of Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep's amazing because we do fusion summon a lot in this deck, and you also ritual summon, which lets you draw 2 and discard 2, which helps out a lot to dig into the deck for more pieces that you might need for your combos. We then play a single copy of Linkuriboh. Linkuriboh is amazing in this deck because we play so many level 1s in this build to be able to summon out this card to your side of the field and prevent your opponent from destroying one of your monsters, because it's going to drop one of your opponent's monsters down to 0 attack points, which is amazing. Plus, you can constantly bring this card back, which is really cool, depending on how many level 1s you can put on the field. We then play a single copy of Relinquished Anima, which is basically upside down Relinquished, and this card can actually attach a monster to this card that actually is this card points to, which is a really cool effect that you always have access to a copy of Relinquished through the extract, and this card is just amazing. It's a really cool card, and it's amazing that they turned Relinquished into a Link monster because it's such a cool card. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. Definitely comment down below what your first Yu-Gi-Oh card was. Mine was Relinquished, and it's a really awesome card. I absolutely love Relinquished. It's such an awesome boss monster. It's a really nostalgic card, and if you guys have never played Relinquished before, you should definitely give this deck a try because it's a really fun deck to be able to play, to basically just kaiju over your opponent's monsters and then take them back with your copies of Relinquished, which is just amazing. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below. And that's gonna do it for this one, guys. We'll see you in the next video. See you later, guys.